All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. So in this video, I wanted to talk about something I'm calling AI theory, which is kind of akin to, say, music theory, in the sense that we're talking about big picture and the nuts and the bolts of what I've learned about how to use AI, in this case for web development. And I also wanted to work through some examples of some thoughts that I had about how we could do this better. And so let's just dive in. So say we have a web page and we want to make it better, or say we have an idea and we want to make a web page. What are the best approaches to how we can do this? How should we think about using these language models? These days I'm leaning towards ChatGPT 4.0 for most of my development work. Mainly because I've, made the decision to get a subscription to it. And I feel like just milking that subscription for as much as I can since I'm already using it. And the results at this stage seem better than any of these other models, although I do have access. Let me see if I can find this right here. I do have access to these other models that I can try out and see if they can do better. But I find that the ChatGPT has very long context, which is good. I mean, I'm sure in the future it'll look minuscule, but it's like 128,000 tokens, which is about how many is that? I think I did the math wrong the other day. That'd be 500,000, right? No, 600,000. 600,000. I might be doing the math wrong. Characters. Probably fewer when you're putting code in because the token to character ratio is smaller. But there's a lot of context window to work with, and I don't really see the need. I mean, there are some cool there's some cool software out there. One I haven't really had a chance to look at yet. It's called Aider. And you can see this is really taking off. Oh, wow, I didn't know it was in the terminal. That's not really my favorite. So, what I like is that we can just dump a bunch of stuff into a new chat with ChatGPT, and then we can put our issues in, we can put our feature requests, whatever we want to do, and then hit send. And then we can see what it recommends. Maybe do a win merge to see what differences there are, so we don't lose any code. And then we can try it out. So that works actually pretty well for new ideas and for smaller scripts. And I do think, this is something else I wanted to mention, I think that HTML and JavaScript are probably the most important user interface tools for people to learn. Plus, obviously CSS is how we get the interface looking exactly right. And I think this is important because of the way that software is going. We just covered an example here, Aider, which is looking like it's from the console. I don't think that's the future. I think in the browser's the future. This allows people to run it on their own computers, obviously, open it in a bunch of tabs. I mean, these browsers are actually really high performance software and very, very capable in terms of functionality. And then it opens the door for not just, a couple other things, let's say. You can access it from a different computer. For example, I have my other computer running right now. I can go to data browser to search for this. And I can just access this as if I was on my other computer from this computer, which I think is hugely beneficial. And you can't do that with many other exe type software packages. Also, of course, you could throw this on a server and you could do a hosted solution for people or just for yourself, private access. So I do think that HTML and JavaScript, and I love jQuery, are key technologies for us to learn, and they're hugely relevant. So the other category here is, what about really large scripts? Like this script right here, book importer is 3,000 lines. If I copy and paste this into a new ChatGPT conversation, it's going to be overwhelmed, and then it's going to, second of all, try to give me the entire response back. And so that's one of the main things I wanted to talk about today. How can we send the relevant parts of the script When should we send the whole thing? When should we send key snippets? And I think a lot of times the more we can boil down the question, the better. So let's take an example of something I actually wanted to develop here. I don't know how easy or hard this is going to be. It's actually been a long time since I worked on this page, at least this part of the functionality. But I wanted to get this middle bar here. Right now I can drag it around, but I wanted to get it to actually save. And the way this is represented in the data is I have a number of what I call crop rules. And let me see, I'm trying to remember what the rules are called. Rules, can't remember the variables. So that's one of the things. In a JavaScript file, we're going to have a number of different global variables. We might have plugin instances. We have all of the HTML elements on our page. We have all the style rules. We have all the click handlers. There's just these building blocks that we build these pages with, at least the way that I build. Some people abstract this to oblivion with things like React. I wouldn't wish that on anybody except for maybe Pierre Corey. I hate that guy. So, and there's others that I hate as well. So let's dive in here. So what I wanted to see is where do we store this variable? So I can try to remember, okay, I know that we use the variable for this element here, which I call book crop rules. And I can search here, .book crop rules, and just to try to remind myself right here. So I'm using this variable. No wonder I couldn't remember it. Project settings, and then there was a time when I was thinking about having support for having many different books and being able to switch between the two, but then I'm like, well, let's just use different tabs in the browser, right? So this is kind of a historical remnant here. But the project settings is an array keyed up by the book ID. And then inside the project settings is something called column crop rules. And book name is undefined. That's because it's out of context. There we go. So basically each of these is a column, or excuse me, each of these is a certain range of pages, odd or even or both. And then this is the key thing that we're trying to update here. Call LTWH. And I picked this example because it's somewhat involved and it's a little counterintuitive, and we just want ChatGPT to figure this out. Then we can put it to the test. So one of the most important things here, if we're trying to break down an issue into the simplest little puzzle that we can pass to ChatGPT to solve, and then if it can get that puzzle, then we solved what we're working on. So that's kind of the art here, unless you want to just copy and paste the entire code in, which I just don't think that's a fun approach, or worthwhile, or utilitarian, or whatever, pragmatic. So let's see here. I know that there's going to be something for .split. This is a great, new split. This is a great plugin. Maybe it's just split. Yeah, here we go. This is from somebody called, let me see, Split Nathan C. It's like Nathan Cahill, I think. Yeah, this is an awesome plugin in JavaScript. And just to give you an example of what this does, if we go over to this page here, I can just drag and resize these elements. This is thanks to this Nathan Cahill split plugin. So what I want to do is try to find where we're doing this. So the call splitter down here. Let me remind myself. So again, we're doing a more involved example here because there's so much code here, we can't just copy and paste the whole thing. So I want to show people how to solve this type of thing. Much better than copying and pasting. So render cur rule split UI book pop-up. I think that's the wrong one because I use split all over this. Well, I thought I did. Actually, maybe for this one up here, I'm using something else. I think I might be using, yeah, jQuery Resizable. So rule call stage, this is the one, Resizable. So what I'm going to try to find here is some unique code that I can then look up in my debugger in the browser. So one of our, all of the best tools that we have for debugging in the browser are in the developer tools. It gives us an inspector where we can see what the HTML is doing in this nice tree format that expands with these little arrows. You can also, what's great about inspector is I can grab, and we're going to talk about this today, you can grab a whole segment of the HTML, and this is great context to pass over to the LLMs like ChatGPT. That was something else I wanted to mention is for Aider and the like, I just don't think it has a big improvement value over using ChatGPT. I'm glad that people are developing it, but at this stage, I think that for coding, it's really important just to tee up the question and then try to get it to knock it out of the park. And when it does, bring that code into our code base. So then there's the console, which is really important. We can run JavaScript here. So var a equals 100. Then I can ask what a is by typing a and hitting enter. That's really important. And then this plays along really well with the next component, which is the debugger. We'll show this in a second. And then there's network. So I can see all the times that my website is talking to the server behind the scenes. And for example, this is a query that's getting book import project settings for the book in question. And we get back the project configuration with all these crop rules that we were just talking about. So it's important to know these 4 tabs here in developer tools. So with that in mind, let's try to find something and pull it up in the debugger. So what about just this bit here? That's going to be unique enough. So Control-Shift-F, paste this in. We come over here. We can put a breakpoint right on line 1734. And we can refresh the page and then wait for this breakpoint to engage. And it's loading. It's got to go check how many pages there are and then load up all their dimensions and stuff. There we go. Okay, I've got to scroll down to where there's actually multiple columns. Okay, that's actually might be the wrong spot. It didn't hit. So let's keep searching here. We're doing this live. I think it might be this one. So let's disengage this breakpoint and we'll search here. And I'm not going to refresh the page because I'm remembering I can just scroll down here. It hits. So this means that since this is paused on breakpoint, we now have some context. And what we can do here is, let's put another breakpoint. We'll change this breakpoint to inside the resize callback. So this is a jQuery plugin actually by the jQuery team. We've talked in previous shows how to make our own jQuery plugins. And the beauty about a jQuery plugin is it handles all the work behind the scenes. And all we have to change are these things called options. Usually you'll pass in, you can see here the curly brace. This means that it's an object that we're passing in. And what's great is all the boilerplate stuff gets handled behind the scenes. All that we have to specify is what changes between runs. And there's a really cool data type. Just like, okay, so up here, we're passing a string for containment. That means that I can drag, or that means that I can resize the element that I'm doing .resizable on. And, but I can't go past the width of the parent or the height of the parent, the bounding box that the parent gives. So just that one little rule, we're specifying something that's really important that we need the functionality for. Then this one here handles, it's a comma separated string, north, east, southwest. So all the different parts that you can drag and resize on. And actually, I think this is the wrong, well, we'll see in a second. This might actually be the wrong breakpoint to put, but it still is important to talk about here. So what's awesome is we can also pass options that have a value of a function. So a function has encapsulated logic that'll run. And basically when we're passing a function in for an option, what we're saying is run this at this key time. So the plugin's going to give us this extra functionality that we can just customize to our heart's content. And it'll run it right when it promises to run it. In this case, when resize happens. So I'll hit play here. And let's see, does this, so this still isn't the right spot. But if I, let me show my screen a little bit more here. Wrong one. If I drag, see how I have my mouse right up here on the corner? If I resize this, you see that this hits. So now we know what code we're talking about here. And we'll continue because that's not even the right thing that we're looking for here. Let's continue along. So I think this is it. Call.resizable. So one thing that we're kind of exposing here is that it's a little bit finicky and a bit of extra work to dig through and try to figure out what we're actually dealing with as far as our code. Maybe it is sometimes convenient just to be able to send all of our code. That's one of the advantages that LLMs have, is they can read super fast. But then there's the drawbacks, like GPT-4o is going to try to send us the entire replacement code, even if 99% of it's okay. But it's funny because in the past we've complained about how GPT-4 would only give us some of the code and it would abbreviate and say your existing code here, or it only give you like one function back and you have to figure out where to put it. So they can't really win. They have to pick one or the other. And we could probably specify in the prompt. I don't know. I haven't really tried that too much. Just give me the changed code. But let's keep walking through here. So call resizable. So we're on. Am I on this breakpoint? I think so. I can copy and paste any part of any of these variables, and this is something we're going to talk about. And I can come over here and I can paste it. It says call is not defined, so I have a feeling I need to scroll some more to engage the next round of these. Okay. Then I can try this again. So now we're paused on a breakpoint, and I can see exactly what the variable is at this point in time. So and call is resizable columns. So that looks good. I think we found it. In this case, the handles are just the east, so on the right side, which I think is exactly right. And I tried a number of different approaches for this, and just for a little background here, I found that the most effective is to have, so let's put a breakpoint here on stop. That's what we're going to be trying to fix today. But I found the most effective is to have, basically, if we look closer here, I have, actually I'm trying to remember. That's a little different than I remembered. Okay. So basically I have a series of rectangles that are made to be 100% width. And then each of them can be resized only on the east side. So it doesn't really worry so much about trying to get, okay, this moving to the left to 30%, so make the right one 70%. It just waits till the finish and then it realigns everything. So now we have a breakpoint. I just moved it and we triggered this new breakpoint. And what we can do here, it's actually what I wanted to do today, is get all of the key variables here. Because right now this is mainly just accounting, bookkeeping stuff, such that it all flushes out and the interface control works well. But I'm not actually using it. So let's just do an example here. And I'm just trying to pick an example that's like not fresh in my mind. This could be, we could dive into anybody's page and figure it out, anybody's web application, and figure out their logic and then extend it. And this is just an important page so I'm multitasking here. So let's do this. So we can step along here. These are the most important tools for debugging over here on the right. This is consistent for any programming language with a debugger, pretty much. I haven't seen an exception. I've seen it for Python, Java. This is JavaScript. There's the resume button, the play button. And then there's the step over. This is key. We'll do a couple step overs here. So it goes to the next line, the next line, the next line. Then there's step in. So if you have a function, I don't really have a good example here. But if you're calling, see this function here, get column widths as percentages. If I called this somewhere in my function up here, and I'm on the line right before this is about to call, if I clicked step over, it's going to just get me the result as if that's a one-liner, because it kind of is a one-liner. But if you click step in at that point, it's going to go into this function and you can see what variables got passed in. You can step through this other function it called and see all the work that it does in that one-liner. Okay, but one thing I really wanted to build here, and this is great too because we can kind of switch around between building from scratch and building in the context of a much larger program. So let's open up ChatGPT. And I had a couple of questions here. So in JavaScript, can I get the current function / call stack programmatically? So this is what I like about ChatGPT is it's conversational. We can just ask questions and explore ideas. What the call stack is it tells us all of this one's pretty simple. It's just inside the stop function here. But we'll show the call stack more in a second here. We'll find a better example. What I really wanted to do, so let me explain a little better what I'm trying to do here. I want to build a helper function because one thing I always find myself doing is, say I'm on a breakpoint here. I'm actually, like it says up here, paused while stepping. So I'm not paused on a breakpoint per se. I started paused on a breakpoint, and then I stepped over. So now I'm paused while stepping. And one thing I find myself doing a lot is I'll send code over to ChatGPT, and then I want to send it the current example that I'm looking at. So in this case, I want to show it the column crop rules that I'm trying to edit. I want to show how to access that for the current page. I want to show it all of these variables that we have in this function to leverage. And one issue that I always have is I'm like, let's say I have a ChatGPT open, and I say I'm trying to update my column crop rules when I change the setting for the respective column widths via a jQuery resizable element resize. And so what I'd end up doing is like I have these variables. Or actually, I'd usually paste the code. Here's the code. And I can come down here and grab the code. The question is, how much code do I want to send? So we'll just send this. Perfect. So here's the code. So again, started as a 3,000 line script. If I sent the whole thing, I don't have any faith that it would, I just think it'd be a mess. We could try that as comparison, but then what I wanted to say is here are the variable values in an example I'm stepping through. And then I'm going to use the console here, but I want to automate this a bit. But let me show you what I'd usually do. So total width I can see is 171. So I could either do it this way. Cur call index, when I mouse over, I see it's 8. New width, 71, or what is it? Yeah, 71. So you get the idea. We could tell it all these variables just to give it an idea of what we're working with. We could also, this is really helpful too. I can right click on this parent element, page number 44. I can do edit as HTML, copy and paste this whole thing, give it this context. Here is the HTML for the page representation. Shout out to Sound Healer in the chat. Good to see you. Welcome everybody. So the idea is we're trying to give context here. Now sometimes the variables are a bit more complex. So we can step over. Here's a loop that goes through each of the children that have the class resizable column, which are these things. Resizable column. And it's going to be able to pair this information together because I'm giving it this HTML and it's going to see a resizable column. So if I give it just the code in one go here, if I just copied and pasted these 3,000 lines and send it over, it doesn't actually have this context here of what's on the page. So I've been thinking a lot about how can we automate this and I've had a number of ideas, but it'd be cool if we could just automatically pick out the content that's needed and build out an awesome just copy paste button that does this work. But I'll show you this idea that I wanted to tackle today. It's a little bit easier than that. Basically, I want to have some code that I can run in the console. And this is something that I think we should start developing and collecting this type of console code. So what I usually do for this case is I do a new tab. I actually was looking at some that I wrote the other day. This one's kind of interesting. Extract variable info. I can take some code, a code snippet, and then I can pass it into this custom variable. And what it does is it breaks it apart. It finds all the variables that are referenced. And then it looks up the variable names, and it copies them all, one per line with the variable name and the value. And that's kind of what I wanted to do today, except for I'm thinking more of just listing out the... I mean, let's try this. This is the great thing about collecting this type of code that we can run in the console. So let's copy this and just see how it does. Paste this here. And I'll zoom in for everybody. Let's just copy some of these. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'm not too hopeful, actually. I don't know if it's robust enough. But what if I just paste this here, and then we'll hit enter. It's not actually going to run yet. If I run extract variable info, you see it's now doing autocomplete because it's on the page. And I pass code. Okay, no, that's not right. It's interesting that it's evaluating to some cur call index equals ui.element.index. And it's telling me what that function is. But if I actually ran this, UI column index, isn't it a number? So that's something else here that we could maybe try to improve this. Although it's a different approach than what I was thinking here today. So let's build a kind of the different approach. So what I wanted to do today is, and let's just ask ChatGPT. I'm curious what it said here. Yes, in JavaScript, you can get the current call stack programmatically using error objects. By creating a new error and then accessing its stack property, you can capture the current call stack. That's really interesting. Let's see what this does. Although the call stack's kind of boring here. Current call stack, get call stack. Wow, this is fascinating. I found something similar the other day, just FYI. I'm really trying to develop this from all ends. Just all the ideas that I have, I'm just fleshing out and trying to solidify. The other day I was thinking about this for Python. See if I can find it. I think it was in my projects folder. I found a way that you can run Python and get the trace. So right here. And I'm also thinking, we did a little bit prior and I've developed it since, but it's not really, I don't know. I put it on the back burner because there's so many ideas that I have. But we have the Python debugging, but Python automatic debugging code, diagnostic code that we were writing the other day. And that's working a little bit better. But also I think Selenium WebDriver is very interesting in that from, say we have a page, I'm not even showing the right screen, but we'll show it in a second. Say we have a page like this up here, which has all of my HTML pages, all the backend code for a certain project, and I can toggle between the projects. What if I wanted, it'd be cool if for like an HTML page, I could click on it or something, or right click on it. Maybe there's a button up here or something, and I could search for, say, a function in question, and then get all the relevant information, and then automatically do this diagnostic information collecting to send it over to ChatGPT. Again, that's kind of pie in the sky at this point, as far as how useful it is versus the work involved. At this stage, I think just using ChatGPT and sending the relevant code snippets is the best approach, best bang for our time. But let me show you this. I had trace notes here. So you can run a Python script with -m trace. So that's a module. -m is module, the trace module. And then they have these different flags, -t, -c, -l, and -T. And the -t trace was pretty cool. This is, for example, just a simple list primes script that I had an LLM write me real quick. And it basically just lists out the first 5 prime numbers. And so I ran it with trace on, and it gave me this whole log here, which I think is really cool. So you can see exactly what code ran, what line number it is. And I'm thinking this might be something that we can leverage as well. So I just wanted to show this before, because I haven't covered that yet. All right, but let's go back up here. We also have, I kind of want to save this code that we just found. Git call stack. Git call stack.js. That might come in handy. But the other thing I wanted to try here is let's write a function that gets a list of variables. So let me just write this out here. Get variable value list. It's a function. And it's going to take vars. And then we might call it like this. Get variable value list. And then let's use this example that we're looking at here. Total width. I mean, it's still a little annoying that we have to copy all the variable names like this. Might be, I don't know how much of a hassle it is versus the other approach of doing this manually. I think it still saves a little bit of time. So if I just copy this stuff. So the question is, how can I write this code such that, I mean, it should be pretty simple actually. It should just be a for loop with a resp variable for response. And then resp plus equals. Make sure we have a /n at the end of each line. So we're going to go through each of the vars. And we're going to start by putting the var name, then a colon, and then a var value. And we can do this by, that's actually something I'm a little interested in here. So we have like event. Is there an eval in JavaScript? Eval? Yes. Eval. What if we put new width? What if we put UI? I think that's the answer here. So plus eval vars at I. And what's interesting here, actually, let's make this a little bit more involved. So var val equals this. And then we can say if a type of is equal to object, I want to get the JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. So var val equals JSON.stringify, stringify the var val. So let's try this out. I was going to ask ChatGPT, but just came together there. Oh, and then how do we do this here? So if that's not done, we need to return. We could do window.resp val equals resp. And then there's a couple options here. We could either just do copy. What I tend to do though, what I like to do the best is console.log the copy command. And that tells me I need to run this command. Just copy and paste it into the console next. All right, so let's try this now. So it tells me to copy window.resp eval. Now we copied it. Okay, I messed up here. Var val should go there. And I think I need to do double quotes to get the line escape right. Try it again. String was copied to the clipboard, paste it. Now we have the line breaks. So that could be helpful. So whenever I have a breakpoint and I need to grab a bunch of variables, like let's try adding here event in UI. Those are a little bit more tricky. These are part of the jQuery UI plugin. Okay, cyclic object value. This is something good for ChatGPT. So let's go to ChatGPT. I'm making this function, but I'm getting cyclic value error. See what it can come up with. So again, we're trying to get the relevant code, the relevant HTML, and then give it an example. So when we're trying to debug, for example, well, actually, we're trying to extend this feature functionality, or you could call it a debug because it's not really working like we want it to. But what I'm trying to do is update the rule for the column in question. Also, we should respect this up here, whether it's modify the existing rule or a new rule for the page outright. This is going to help us import books, so it's a really important task here. All right, let's see what ChatGPT says. Safe stringify object. Okay, so it's going to give us this helper function. So this is where having like a script like this that we can just paste in the console that does all this, has all these tricks of the trade behind the scenes, really comes in handy. So get the variable value list gets fleshed out a bit. And let's try this again. So we're still pausing that breakpoint. And now no error. And I wanted to try the, again, it's really an awesome functionality that you can hit the up arrow and bring back prior commands. So let's try this again with the event in the UI. Something's going weird here. String copy to clipboard. Is it really a big string or something? Not responding. Let's switch over to here. My whole computer's bogging down. So maybe this isn't the best approach. It's definitely got some sort of performance issue here. Maybe the cyclic variable. Things like event and UI oftentimes have references that like reference something else that is also referenced, and it just goes in a loop. I thought that was what ChatGPT was going to help us with there. But we're having some performance issues, as you can see. Okay, hopefully this comes back to life, or we'll kill it off and open up a new browser. It is really bogged down, even my notepad. Give it a second here. So I've just been paying a lot of thought into how can we use these new tools to supercharge our development. And I think it's something that we haven't really tapped into enough. And so like I said, what I found to be the most effective way to do this is to send just the relevant code. Try to make it a more solvable, easily solvable like unit of challenge. Try to prevent information overload and throwing all this stuff out there. Because when I send a 3,000 line code to ChatGPT, it's actually making it do a lot of reasoning and trying to figure out how this is going to execute, which is hard. I mean, basically what you're asking it to do is just read something from start to finish and then start predicting the next tokens and just churn something out. It's like typing without the backspace key. Somebody said, write me an amazing essay, and you just have to keep hitting letters on your keyboard. And you can't go back. You can't edit anything. Like it doesn't actually evaluate the code. I mean, that might change in the future. I think maybe it can run Python or something. But there's a lot of context it doesn't have. It just has to guess and look for patterns and try to spit something back out. So it's really amazing what it does succeed. And it does succeed a lot, and it comes up with a lot of good ideas. But we're going to have a much higher success rate if we tee it up with a simple challenge. Okay, I'm running out of patience for this. Not responding, crap. Maybe I'll try to kill this off here. It's so annoying. Let me look at my task manager. It's really struggling here. Should I just kill it off? I think so. Close the program. Cancel. Restore session. All right, I think we're back. It's making me log in again to the site. Where is the book importer? Okay, here we go. All right, so we're back, except for Notepad is still spinning its wheels. Something happened there that I don't know if it was just some really long text. It should still be able to handle that. Okay, so that was not a time-saving feature there. But we are back. So let's find another book here. I'm trying to find a good example for us. What about this Greek lexicon? Let's try it. So it takes a second to load up here. So the big picture stuff is trying to figure out how do we optimize the context window? How do we get the right content into our message and not just overwhelm it with information that it can't really act on, but boil it down to, okay, what are we trying to solve here? Let's just get this, knock it out, move on. Just rinse and repeat. Okay, so let's see. This is a book from 1900, Greek lexicon of the Roman and Byzantine periods. So this is something else that I am trying to work on. When the book first loads up, sometimes I get some weirdness with how these column crop rule things behave that I've been trying. Okay, it doesn't seem to be as bad. I think I fixed that bug from the other day. So I should be able to refresh now and it will cover the whole thing. So I'm so annoyed by the browsers these days. Like, what is this down here? I can't even close it. Might have to switch to developer mode of Firefox. Gotta log in real quick. Admin. All right, it seems to be going faster. So again, it's the wrong book. Which book was I on? CU. Sorry for the hiccups here. Okay, so the way it works is we have these start and end pages. I actually can delete this one. And then we have the rules. Actually, this worked perfectly here, on this page at least. And then I can click a random page for rule, random page. Actually worked out pretty well. I'm going to lower this bit. Raise this bit. And then at this point, we can switch over to this perspective. One thing I want to do, maybe we can try to knock this out here, is have it be more responsive. So when I make a change in one spot, I'd hope that it makes the change everywhere, so I don't get this stale content issue. But you can see how we just in one little, a couple keystrokes there and some mouse clicks, now we have a pretty good starting point. We can also see this difference that we oftentimes notice when we're scanning books or when we're looking at book scans, where the odd and the even pages have different patterns. So let's just go ahead and go to crop rules and then do new rule for one for even, one for odd. And then for the, whatever this is here, ah, shoot. I always pick the wrong setting here. So I want to modify the rule, which will affect everything with that rule number. So there are these like little bugs that I see from time to time, to say the least, and I'm just going to work through it. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. Not too bad, actually. So we have new rule for page, so I can just kind of drag these around, and it's just going to edit the one page. I don't want to spend too much time on stream here just trying to get this right, but just want to show you the idea. Okay, but the big question here is how can we fix the center bar here? And most of these are kind of on point already. So we'll just try to maybe move it to like 25% or something and see if we can just get that to save. That'll show proof of concept here. All right, so back to the debugger. Wow, I think I need to kill off my Notepad++. What happened there? I think it just copied some huge text. I thought that was going to be a time saver function to grab the variables that we need. All right. Okay, so Notepad++ is refiring. So let's go back to the, see if we can find this again. Resizable. I think it was this one, right? Called out resizable. And we'll put a breakpoint in the stop. So stop fires when the drag is released and the resize has stopped. So for example, if we take this page and we go over to the right and we release, then the stop fires. And let me see, I thought I knew how to zoom in. There we go. Okay, so what we're trying to do is, first of all, we need to be able to access the current page in question, or the current rule in question. So we have a number of helper functions that we can recall them to our mind by starting to type in the console and getting the autocomplete. So get, I think it's get rule to use, rules and page number. Okay, and we know the rules. Okay, right here, this reminds me, this is the rules, but it's book name. And then get rule to use, we pass this as the second parameter, or the first parameter, excuse me. And then the second parameter, so what page are we on is the question. I know looking at this, it's page 26. And we get the rule number. But how do we get this from the code? So putting a breakpoint and then playing around in the context of the breakpoint is a great way to write our code as well. So it's not just for teeing it up for ChatGPT, it's also just teeing it up for our own development process. So how can we get the page number? Well, let's see. This is a contender here. So let's see what this is in the console. And we can click this little target next to it, and we can actually mouse over here. So this is the rectangle on the left side. That's what's actually being resized. That's what I was trying to express earlier. I have like a series of rectangles, each of them with a dragger on the right, that you can resize any one of them at a time. And then we handle and we do the accounting in the stop function afterwards to realign everything to 100%. Not really the point of this episode. I'm just working through an example, kind of a complex feature add here. So I need to get the page number here. So what I can do is this dot closest. So that's going up to ancestors. Let's find what we should go closest to. I see page num here. And I see page num here. So let's go up to the page, dot page, since it's a class, dot page, and then get the page num attribute. That's network, sorry, dot page, dot attribute. I'll even zoom in to make it extra big here. Attribute is page num. 26. And let's parse the int so it's not a string, it's a number, an integer. And I really wish my notepad wasn't doing this to me. I closed it and reopened it, or tried to. Here's what I'm seeing, just not responding. That copy and paste really okay, is it working? You can see right where I pasted, it's got this white box. Sorry, I don't mean to focus on the tech issue here. We have the page number. We can then at this point get the page, or get the rule to use with this equation, with this code. And so now we have this code that we can just put into our stop function, and it's going to give us what the current rule is that we're working on. Also, we want to get the value of this thing up here. Tool on drag will also apply here. So note how I'm doing this. I have two classes. Tool on drag applies to all these buttons, both of these two buttons up here. And then I have the active class, which makes it blue and indicates that that's the current rule. Sorry for the tech issues. I'm just trying to get the Notepad++ to fire and open up. Okay, so we'll build out this code line by line here. So we could do, what we want to do is find which of those tools is active. So since there are two classes that we want to target, we put them together, no space, dot tool on drag, and dot active is looking for an element with both of those classes. There's only going to be one of them. And what we can do is we can look at the attribute of that match for value, is what I called the the attribute, new rule. So that's going to decide whether to create a new rule or edit the existing rule. So for example, if I go to one of these that has a bunch of rules, like rule 7, page 37, 39, 41, all the odd pages use rule 7. If I have new rule for page, I want it to make an entirely new rule just for that page, unless it already exists, which is something else I'm a little bit I'm trying to remember if I already account for. Like rule 4 here on page 23 is its own thing. But if I drag it a bit, okay, that's good. It's not making a new rule. It's just using the existing. Perfect. And my Notepad++ is really misbehaving for me. So I don't know how much coding we can do here, actually. And also we lost the other prompt that I was writing due to a restart of the browser. But it's all right. Just exploring some ideas here. So what we can do is, I need to close this. All right. So what I'm trying to do is, we have basically we have the key components here. We already have get the rule for it's so annoying. We have get rule to use, which gives us the rule def, start on page 26, end on page 26. So we could just check there. If it's already just a one-page rule, 26 to 26, then we don't need to create a new one, even if it's new rule mode. I actually haven't seen this with Notepad++, on this computer at least, or really in a long time ever. It's usually very good performance. Okay. I changed the page and it worked. Let's just close this other one. The trouble page here. It's not letting me. It worked for a second. Okay, so I'm trying to juggle here. Oh, let's see. That file's from hell. Go back where you came from. All right. So we have this call resizable. Let's start bringing our code in. So we developed the code in the context of this breakpoint, which is great because then we can just copy and paste the code. And we wrote it using variables, which means, yeah, it works for this example, but it's going to work for any example. That's the beauty of logic written in the context of where we're going to put the logic. So what we can do down here, let's find a good spot. It's probably right here. So right here we have new width divided by total width times 100 gives us the percentage of the way across, but this is probably the key bit that we want. New width divided by total width. Not a number. I need a step further along here. Step, 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 step. Run this again. Oops. Run this again. So 51% is the new width. Looks about right. So what we're trying to do is we want to capture. So let's see, var rule to use, we'll save what we just did to a variable. And then we have rule to use dot rule def to play with here. And we'll just start with the case that we're just editing whatever the rule is. And then we'll put a to-do if, we'll put a var drag mode equals, going back up through my commands, just hitting the up and down arrows. Right here, this is the current drag rule. So if drag mode equals new rule and rule to use, let's see what it is. Rule to use, I need to run this command first. Now we have the variable rule to use dot rule def dot start and end. So what I can do is rule def dot start equals rule dot end equals true. So in that case, if drag mode equals new rule and actually it does not equal, the start does not equal the end, then we need to make another rule at a higher priority for just this one page. And the page. So this is just a good practice. You learn these little patterns. So what I want to do here is I want to know what page we're on. And I currently have this as part of this larger code right here. But what we'll end up doing a lot of times is giving things variable names and then just referring them as their variable names and then kind of working it through and then putting the variable up top. So I'm going to cut this out and then I'm going to use modified page. We're just making a new variable, and then I'm going to define the variable up top. Modified page equals, and then down here I can just now use, I can refer to it as modified page in the future. And so it also simplifies this line, which is great, and it gives me context. Okay, I'm passing the modified page as parameter 2. Although you can see from the code, but variables just help explain things when they're used right. The naming of the variables especially. Okay, so let's go back into it. We now are getting closer. We have the rule in question, the page in question. The other thing I wanted to do is the actual call LTWHs. This is the key bit. This is what I want to send to ChatGPT. So we have R to use .ruledef.call LTWHs. And what I can do here, and this doesn't scare me as much, so I can do json.stringify. This is what we were trying to do, I think, on some recursive variable, which gave us some crazy problems. But what I can do now is I can send this variable name. I can send this variable that is to my ChatGPT prompt and give it context here. So let's build this prompt up. I have an HTML page I'm working on for cropping book columns. I have rules for the pages. Here is the code for resizing the middle bars that specifies, or that should change the respective percentage widths of the columns. And in parentheses, keeping the total rectangle of all the columns the same size. And I'm just going to start, oops. So if you shoot too soon here, you can come back and you can just stop it and hit the edit button. And sometimes what I like to do, because they might have fixed their bug here. It used to like jump down when you started typing. And so I would just copy and paste this whole code and start a new chat. But it doesn't seem to be doing that. So what we're going to do here, I meant to put the code. So we'll put the code in here. And then what I can do is Now it should be able to understand this. I was just kind of walking through an example of how we'd give context before on variables. And sometimes it's good just to give it like the most bare bones explanation and request possible. Give it the flexibility and see if it gets it right. And then if it doesn't, then you can edit your initial post. Going back to the AI theory stuff now that we worked through the tech issue. So let's see. Here is an example with a breakpoint in the stop function right after I resized the column widths. And what else should we put here? Let's put an example. It's in my other browser. Let's send it the rule to use. Same thing. Actually, this tells it everything I need, including what I just put there. So we'll replace this. So here's an example with the breakpoint in the stop function right after I resize the column widths. JSON to stringify R to use. We need to make sure we update the main variable, which is called okay. I think it's probably good to send at this point, but let's see what else we're missing. Let's also send this, the HTML. So we're on rule 26, I believe. Yep. So again, we can just right click, edit as HTML, copy this block. This is a great way to send context of what the HTML looks like in the wild at the time of execution. So here is the HTML for the page that we're modifying. And what else here? Called it resizable, stop, rule to use. If the drag mode is a new rule, that's my note to myself. So let's also, just for my own curiosity, maybe also to send this to ChatGPT. I'm curious what it does. Let me just hit continue there. If I go over to, so I know this works. If I, this is just a standalone rule for page 27. If I go to my network tab and I trash everything, and then I do some drag in here, it's currently sending a request to save book. What is it? Save book, import project settings. So I can send this as well. So there's two modes when you look at a request in the network tab, right? There's request and response. There's also headers, but let's just focus on request and response. There's raw mode and there's form data mode. Raw mode's good because ChatGPT can read this. So we can just copy this and I can say, here's an example request for how I save a rule. I'm noticing that ChatGPT's made some changes that in some ways are good. I think they fixed like the random scrolling issue, but now they have this new like overhanging text thing, which is understandable. Some of my pages have that too. I think it's probably a text editable they're using. But I have noticed some other bugs. Like they fix some bugs, they patch some things, then they break other things. Also, I wanted to search through my code because I think I have save. Now it seems weird. Is it really sending the whole thing? Or just one of those pages? It might be sending all the rules. I'm trying to see. Yeah, it's sending all the rules at once, which I don't know if I love, but that's what it's doing. So what I could actually do is instead of sending it this weird code here, I could say, here's the existing JavaScript function for how we can save the rules. All right, so let's send it off. Let's just see what it comes up with. So we just want to send it like the minimum information. And in the future, I'm hoping that we can come up with ways to perfect getting that, you know, however long I spent there, 5 minutes typing this out, / debugging. There's a lot that we could automate there. For example, what we could do is see what functions are being referenced. If we're updating a function, we could see where it's being called, what functions it's calling. Just kind of give a copy and paste, not the whole code, but just like some relevant stuff surrounding the code in question to give more context. But I think doing it by hand is probably the best way to get the highest performance. So coming back here, let's see how it did. So it's just giving me the swap out here. Here's an updated version of your code. Let's see. I noticed it took my comment off that we spent some time doing. So I'm just going to ask, does it do this? I've included the logic to check if drag mode is a new rule and if... Okay, so it's updating the code to do that. So let's try it out. Hopefully it knocks it out of the park here. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we should, for scientific purposes, put it to the test with sending the entire code across. But it just gets too hard to explain things. I think when you just give it a very minor glimpse, it's like when you're an intern at a company, or just when a company hires an intern, they only tell them what they need to see. They're not going to tell them every part of the inner workings of the company, right? And there's reasons why, for the company's sake, they do that. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're just telling the ChatGPT one little part of our script that we've isolated as needing improvement. All right, let's see how it did. So let's go back to, this page here. We're going back to the other browser. So let's watch the network tab. And let's find that one that's by itself here. Okay. I'm just going to drag way over to the right. Okay, did it save? Let's refresh. It did not work. Okay, so this is where we go back to the debugger and search for this code again. And let's put a breakpoint on the stop function again. And now what we're looking for is some follow-up text that we can send across to prove to it that it's wrong and really nail how it's wrong. So we want to step through still here. So the modified page comes through as 27. The rule to use, it's finding the right rule to use. I'm not seeing any new code here. Oh, down here, I guess. So container.children resize column.each. Left is parse float left. That's one thing I'm seeing that's totally wrong here is well, let's just start typing this. A couple things. Let's just say wrong. A couple things. What's it called? The width and height in call LTWHs, the left, can't type, the left top width and height in call LTWHs is based on the full size of the image, which is way scaled down in the dot page elements. You seem to be using the scaled down dimensions, which is incorrect. What else? Let's put a breakpoint inside of this each loop. So left is 0, width is 121. That's way wrong. Also, let's go down here, because even if it's using the wrong widths and lefts, it should have changed, but it was exactly the same. So new rule equals, let's see, it should not hit this first if. Okay, it skipped over there. Window.project settings, book name, column cropping rules. Rule number 1. That seems to be right. See, it finds these little patterns which are helpful. Equals rule to use. Left 99, width. So that's another issue here. That's why it's not picking up. Also, when the if whatever is false and the else block executes, it's not actually using the altered params. You're only editing the call LTWHs in the main if, not in the else. Those are the two big things. So again, this is where it really shines to do this approach versus sending 3,000 lines of code in this example. And sometimes it's going to be even more. So in this case, I can actually go back and forth without it having to churn out 3,000 lines of code each time. And this is also one reason why I'm suggesting using ChatGPT 4.0 versus, say, Aider or these other suites that are automatically sending our code in the background. I don't even know how they work, frankly, how it could work. This gives us the control of sending what we need to send, doing follow-ups. I think it's by far the best way to utilize this technology. So it's giving us this new updated snippet. Should we try it out? I think so. Seems to have added 10 or so lines. Got to find where to indent here. There we go. Let's try it. So again, we want to put a breakpoint here. I'm most curious about what it does right in this case. So if we come down here, page 27, hit continue. So rule to use. So what is our call LTWHs here? Left 0? Seems wrong. Width 1954. How big is this image? Let's figure that out here. 2300 by 3761. So 2300 is the height. The left is definitely not 0. How is it getting 0 for the left? Left is 0. Parse float this.css left. Let's see what this.css left evaluates to. So all these little components can just be pasted into the browser like I just did there, and that's where the 0 pixels comes in. So what's this? Okay, yeah, that's wrong. And I see how it's wrong. So it's incorrectly saying the left is 0 pixels. In reality, we need to look at, and I probably should have specified this earlier, but there's the parent here. We need to look at dot column crop page zone for the total width, height, and position, the top and the left, for all the columns put together. Then we use the percentage widths of the elements to derive the actual dimensions and positions for each of the columns. I meant to say columns here. And I think that's probably enough to get it on the right track. Here's the update. So I want to try to see if I can kill this off without it firing. So let's try this again. So our call.resizable. So I hope people see how powerful this is, that we can build very complex systems, just iteratively improving them, bringing in new features, fleshing it out, taking these components and improving them independently from each other. This is the real art here that we should try to master. And then, a lot of effort should be thought about where do we apply this skill. And in my opinion, it should be applied on very valuable reusable code that can be reused, especially classes and things like Python, plugins for JavaScript or jQuery. If you find these reusable components, that's where you get the real benefit. Because then you can keep fleshing them out, and then you can reuse them all over the place and give them to your friends and they can reuse them. You can sell it, people can reuse it, your customers. You can give it out for free and open source. They can reuse it. All right, so let's put this to the test. Do I have the breakpoint? Yes. Page 27. Oops, that's not, so that wasn't what triggers it. This triggers it. So what is our call LTWH at this point? The left is still 0. That's wrong. So let's give it some real constructive feedback here. Find out exactly what it got wrong. So full width image, call image. So it's picking up on patterns that I even forgot existed because we sent it the HTML. And for example, I think on each of these images, we have a W and an H, which tells it the full width and height of the image, which is great because then it picked that up. And I didn't have to remind myself, it just found these patterns. That's great. But it's still going, what is our zone? Zone is the page.find. Okay, that's fine. You could just do this dot closest. Not that this really matters all that much, but let's see. That should be the same as that, but who cares? We can change that later if we. It doesn't really matter at all. What does matter is that it's saying our zone left is 0. No, it's not. Okay, so where's the 0 coming from? Let's see. Maybe I just had to refresh the code. So what does this evaluate to? We can just copy the whole right side of this expression, paste it here. It evaluates to 444, not 0. And if we hit continue, the second column evaluates to 634, which seems right. Actually, it doesn't seem right, because the total width of the element here is $2,300. So that's not right. So let's see the equation here. Parse float this CSS left. So again, what is this .css left doing here? This is where I get confused, and I wish it was smarter. I wish it was better at this. I wish I was better at this. Zone width is totally... yeah, we gotta complain about this. This is wrong. Let's see if we can explain this better. It needs to take into account the image's width, which we know we can see up here is total width, or no, full width. And also make sure to parse int full width and full height. So what else here? It's very confusing. Why is it dividing it by 100? Zone width plus zone left. Let's just put, I really don't understand why you're dividing by 100. Your equation seems very wrong. Okay. I don't have much faith, but sometimes it pulls it out of a hat. And it's done. Let's try it out. So this would be almost unbearable. Some people might be like, Tim, it is unbearable. No, for me, I find this actually really fun when the software is working and it's not hung up. That's frustrating. But sending 3,000 lines of code back and forth each time would be frustrating. But if we just boil it down, really get the exact issue that's the problem, and then go back and forth with it, even if it gives us mediocre code, the more we specify, then mediocre code is sufficient. Okay, these are erroneous here. Noting this issue here. That's kind of weird. So we might have some other problem on our hand. So let's scroll down here, put a breakpoint. Parse the float. This, again, what is this? What is this? Left equals parse float this dot CSS left divided by 100. What the heck is divided by 100 doing here? And it just said, thank you for the clarification. I totally get it now. Okay, so sometimes it's good. Let's try something here. Let's go back up to our initial question, edit it with our new code. And then we come down here. The issue is the left and width values are very incorrect. And the equations used to calculate them need to be improved. It's pretty simple. Use the full width of the image, accounting for the region, which is called .column crop page zone CC, which tells us the columns put together. Then we subdivide this space, which tells us the columns put together scaled down to page's image size. Then we subdivide the space based on the respective widths of each of the columns to get the widths and the lefts. All right, so sometimes starting from scratch is helpful. Let's see if it throws us more. And sometimes switching to GPT-4 is helpful. Or even, what we could try here is, let's throw this at some other models here. The new thing where you can't copy and paste from ChatGPT is really annoying. To go through it. Notepad. All right, let's see if anything else can come up with an answer while we wait. All right, before I copy and paste this and try it, let's just eyeball it. So for each of the columns, left equals left percentage times full width. That seems so much better. Width is width percentage times full width. Oh, that's so much better. All right, I think I got it. So another piece of evidence for the importance of sometimes just wiping the slate. Starting, trying to let it get it right on the first reply. All right, let's see if this works. Hopefully it does. I want to try some other stuff. All right, so we move this way over to the right. And let's put a breakpoint down here, so I can bail if it's bad. So the left is 0. Shoot, it's not accounting for that. What's the left on the second column? 3544. I think it needs to add in the offset of. We might just do this by our hands, or let's just complain to ChatGPT. It's always fun. I think you're missing a key component. We need to add the left offset of column crops page zone CC to all the column lefts. And what about the top? What is top here? 790. So zone that's really weird. Why does it say the zone's left is 0? Is it offset? Oh, there we go. Negative 63. I find that confusing. What's our zone again here? Should be this blue box. Oh no. What? Aha, okay. I think I got that wrong earlier. It's column crop page zone. And then let's see, var zone. So this is what's fun, is you can just swap back and forth in the debug dev tools and just figure out these little puzzles along the way. So here's our zone. What is our zone dot position here? And what's our zone dot offset? What's the difference here? This is where it gets a bit tricky. I'm trying to remember. What we're looking for here. So the total width here is 198. Let's try something here. This is a good trick that I sometimes rely on. Opening it up in an image editor to get the metrics. So alt print screen. It's what was the total width? 198. So if we use the little measurement tool in GIMP and click here, and then I click Shift, what is it? Control helps me level things. The total width here is 300 pixels. So 300 equals, I'm just jotting some notes down to myself. 300 equals 198. So then the question is, for example, the left. What is our left here? So what is 16 pixels equals? Let's see if ChatGPT can solve this kind of thing. If looks like I got it. 10.56. I always get confused with that kind of problem. So coming back over here, is either of these 10.56? This one's 8.59, which makes more sense. And then 68 pixels. Let's also do a sanity check here. Although I'm not quite sure I'm whatever. So what is 100 pixels? Ooh, the dreaded 66. So let's see. So it's looking like position is the one we want to use. Let's just use position. So zone position equals zone dot position, and zone left equals zone position position dot left, and then zone top is this. But actually we won't be adjusting the top at all, but that's fine. Just keep it there for reference. So our zone left needs to be added in to our lefts. So left equals left percentage times full width. What is our full width here? Yeah, this is wrong. Let's just put a comment here. Well, so the full width is the width of the image, but not the width of the, okay, so that's what we can do. We need to find the percentage that our zone takes up of, so let's see, zone width percent equals zone width divided by the page width. Then we can say zone width represent image pixels equals zone width percent times the full width. Gotta make sure that's after we find out what the full width is. And then we can say the zone width instead of the full width down here. All right. Should we try this out and then we'll start a new chat with ChatGPT if it doesn't work? Show what I'm looking at here. So that's an issue. Let's drag this in. Wow, that's way over all over the place here. All right, let's refresh. So it's definitely getting the wrong size here. Let's see, get rule to use. Not that code again. So let's put another breakpoint here. I was hoping this would be easier. This is, you know, sometimes these types of things can be tricky. I should have maybe picked a better example for demo in here, but shows what goes into debugging this stuff. It's actually kind of fun. It's like problem solving. All right, so we have a breakpoint here. Get rule to use. So let's just put a breakpoint down here. Right after we calculate the, right before we save it off. See what we're dealing with. With 1912 and with 1751 added together, that's what, 3,660? And what's our width total for the image? 3761. Still seems like a bit of a problem here. So let's copy this code. And try to do a refresh on this prompt we have. Called out Resizable. And what do I complain about here? It's pretty simple. Use the full width, accounting for the region. So that's actually the wrong element there. All right. What happened there? I don't think that fired. Oh, it's gonna sandbag me. So sometimes this happens with ChatGPT. It just doesn't fire. Let's try a different browser. Okay. To correct the left and width values, we need to adjust the calculation to properly account for the full width of the image in the actual visual area. Now I'm curious if we put this side by side in WinMerge, what kind of changes it's making. So WinMerge is a great tool for us. when we're throwing code around at ChatGPT and getting new code back. So it's doing now left percentage equals parse float, the left CSS. Width percentage equals float width, the width percent. Okay. Var left equals left percent divided by 100. Okay. Times zone width times scale x. All right, I mean, it's worth a shot. That might have, I see why it's doing the divide by 100 now. Because it's getting the left, which is percentage based in the CSS. And then it's, you know, as we often do in math, trying to get it so we can multiply it and have that percentage applied. So you have to have it between 0 and 1, which is 100 times less. All right, let's hope this works. Let's try one of these pages up here. So first of all, I just want to drag it. It'll make a new page or new rule, and I'll refresh. And then I want to come down here and put a breakpoint. Got a breakpoint. So we move this to the right. Shoot, I don't think that. Got it. Let's go back over here. So the width is 1150, the left is 0, the width is 1150, which is wrong. The left shouldn't be 0. How does it keep getting this wrong? So, okay, I see the problem. You're not accounting for the column container, which tells us where all the columns reside on the page. The column container is class dot this, which we have in the zone element variable. We need to use the position of the zone and its width relative to the dot page width to properly calculate the left and widths of each column. I do feel like we're on the verge of figuring this out. Let's see. Here's the key section for each of the children, each of the columns. Left percent divided by 100 times the zone width plus, okay, this looks right, actually. I know I keep saying that. This looks more right than it did a second ago, which is at least in the right direction. Let me delete some of these. All right, so let's try this page again. If I resize this, we get the breakpoint. See how it did. Left is negative. That's not right. So this might be helpful to start copying some of these variables and send it to it. So copy json.stringify. This is a great tool, by the way. Copying the JSON stringify in the console. So I'm going to send this back to ChatGPT. We'll say the call LTH is calculated is. Obviously, this is wrong. So this would be a nice time, and I think my script would probably work here. I think I just went crazy trying to get the cyclical variables to work. It's probably my favorite last words here. But what I could do is try this here and get some of these variables in one go. Curious, for example, about full width, full height, zone width, zone height, scale X, scale Y, zone position, page width, that's the main thing, or total width. There's probably some redundancy here. New width. I might not even use those. Let's take this off. So we'll see if the function is doomed or if it's just, I pushed it to the limits last time. Let's see. Okay, it says copy the window response val. Okay, zone position looks wrong here. That actually makes sense. Okay, so the negative value is coming in because the zone position is somehow, let's see what that is. So I think we figured it out ourselves. Sometimes like just drafting a message to somebody saying like, I'm having this issue, and then you figure out what the issue is. You get the same thing with ChatGPT. So the zone position, so what's our zone here? Oh, okay, we're supposed to have changed this. Yeah. So let's delete this page 2 rule. We're also getting these stray rules getting added. All right. So I feel like this would be, I mean, obviously this would be so much harder without a debugger. So refresh now that we made a new rule here. So if I bring this way over to the right, what are our column LTWHs? There we go. This looks right. The width is 3518, and then the second column width, that seems wrong. The second column width seems wrong. See how much smaller the second column width is? Okay, so let's look at that bit. Okay, so the widths are calculated by the width percentage divided by 100 times the zone width times the scale x. So let's just, I guess, put a breakpoint here. Hopefully I can refresh before it saves. Nice. Bring this way over. So, okay, let's watch what happens here. The width percent is 149. That's not right. This dot width is 149 pixels. That's not a percentage. What is just this dot width? I'm not showing my screen, sorry. This dot width is 149, obviously. So how can we get this as a percentage of the zone width? I'm looking at this equation here, it's a bit confusing. Our zone width, we're trying to find what percentage of the zone width, but I'm trying to calculate the percentage of the zone width. I want to, see, that seems weird. Let's just throw this back at ChatGPT. We have a problem with the logic. This dot CSS width in the loop for each column is giving me a pixel value, not the percent. Okay, it's also going back to, I need to make sure to change that div there, or the class name. So to be fair to ChatGPT, this would have been very hard to do manually as well. But it's not making it much easier. It is nice to have some companionship when it comes to trying to solve these things. And it kind of gives some pseudo companionship. Okay, so let's make sure we change this. Keeps wanting to put that. And then we'll check the code here. So if the index does not equal current call index, what is that? That's ugly. What is current call index? That's the current one that we just changed. I don't know what that's all about. Oh, I hate that actually. That's really ugly. The current call index part is really convoluted and confusing. / needlessly complex. All right, it's going to give me something else. Okay, where is it? Okay, so this is what it's doing now. The call width is equal to, it's doing the same thing. I just put it on a one-liner right here. Man, I hate this so much. All right, let's go back. It's going in the wrong direction. I think we still have it on a breakpoint. I'm going to solve this. We're going to get this. So left percent 0, which can't be right. This dot CSS left. It's frustrating here. It's just getting it so wrong. Maybe it would have been better just doing it manually. Surely we would have. So the left percent, I mean, this is just garbage, actually. If these were actually in percentages, it would be nice. Let's go undo and see what it was before. Same bullshit. All right. We have the, let's go back up to here. We have the zone position, the left and the top. We have the page width, which gives us the this is also dumb. The zone width is 169. Okay. So scale X and scale Y are wrong here. It should be full width divided by page width. Page height. Actually, page.find call image. So as you can see, we're still grappling with this. The full width, the full height, page width, page height, zone position. So the zone position could be easily extrapolated here. Instead of zone width percent, what I'm more interested in is zone width scaled back to the image size, because the image is scaled down. Scale X. So it's either going to be times or divide. Zone width divided by page width. Times 100. No. It's either zone width divided by page scale or zone width. I always mess these things up, and I've learned just to pick one and then see if you get it exactly right, change it, or exactly wrong, change it to from divide to multiply or vice versa. So zone height here divided by scale Y. Zone left. Wait, it's going to be scale X. So the zone width, I want the zone left, which is this. So that should give me something to try here. I'm just going to walk it up till we get it. Although it's not a great demo of how to use ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is failing us. What we could try is the version 4. Sometimes that does better at the harder stuff. All right, so we have the breakpoint. No, we don't. Right here. So if I resize this and I step over, what's our zone width scaled? 0. Infinity scale width. Okay, the page width is null. This dot closest page. Oh, can't do that. All right, so we resize this. I just want to see if this gets right. So, yeah, the wrong way. It should be multiplied. It's easier, I find, to just pick one, see if it's right, and then switch it if it's wrong, then sit and try to reason about, do I divide it by the scale x or multiply it? All right, so let's try this again. So our zone width, sorry, the, oh shoot, I changed the wrong one. I changed the equation for scale x, scale y. Take 42. There we go. That gives us the zone left and the zone width. So in the loop here, we're going to use the zone left. So I really don't like this check here. Let me see if I can find the old version of this. I guess it was always doing this. I didn't really notice that for a bit. So if the index does not equal current column index, it's the one that wasn't just changed. Yeah, I really need to just take this all off. Okay, down here, so I'm just going to delete this whole loop. This is the main loop I care about. So for each of the columns, the left percent, I don't need this left percent width percent stuff. So the left is going to be equal to, we're going to rewrite this, left is equal to zone left scaled plus the zone width times the ratio between the, so actually it's going to be full width. I think we got this. Full width, which is the whole image scaled, or not scaled, I should say. The full width times, then we want a percentage here, which is going to be something, the column width divided by the zone width. So this dot width plus the zone width. And I'm curious, let's put a breakpoint up and look at this. So yeah, almost there. I'm going to get this. So what is our this dot width here? I'm curious if the, oh, okay, it's already typed in. Okay, nice. So this dot width divided by the zone width. So we can try this here, although I think I want to refresh. Now the top, we don't even need to worry about the top. Keep the same top. Height, keep the same height. So the width is the other thing that we need. That's actually what we calculate. Well, Yeah, this is a bit confusing. So the left needs to account for all of the other prior lefts. So let's make a loop here. Outside of the loop, var combined or total lefts seen. No, it needs to count for the initial left plus all the other widths that we've seen. So let's call it like the left increment. We can just call this the started at zoom left scaled. Then we calculate the width. I'm not sure what the width is going to be. But whatever it is, we're going to add that to our left increment. I know we're getting in the weeds here, but I'm going to solve this. So the left increment adds the width. Then the next time around, we will let's see, what's the full width times? I think that's actually our width, right? Column width. Nice. So it's all solving itself. Then we have the I don't think I use this at all. Simplify the hell out of this if I can. Top, height, left, width. All right, let's try this again. Make sure we put a breakpoint here. The top is 309. Height, okay, so that stays the same. What's our left? 99 pixels, seems about right. Width, 1751. Hit continue, now we're at the second column. Left looks right. Is that ratio right? 17 versus 11? Looking up here, that seems wrong. Again, the total width of the image is 2300. So 17 might be about right there, but then this second one can't be 1100. So what's wrong with the width in the second here? Full width times this dot width divided by the zoom width or zone width. 88 over the zone width. That seems wrong here. So let's see what our this is at this point. Ah, okay, so that's wrong. That hasn't been updated yet. We used to have some great code for that. Maybe that's what I just deleted. I think that might have been what I just deleted. With the accumulated width stuff. I was like, that's so confusing. We don't need that. No, we do need that. But then I think this will work. So I'm going to put this back. This should square everything up. So I think this is a good lesson in terms of the using the debug tool for a complex task and just working through it. All right, so we're going to resize this way over to the right. And it didn't hit a deep, oh shoot. Did it work maybe? Let's just refresh. Nope. All right, so let's put the breakpoint in the right spot this time. Mouse this over. So the left starts at 99, then the width is 2051 for this first bit here, which looks about right, given the total image size is 2300. That's got to be right. Let's continue. Now this is the second column. And if we look at this, hopefully it's better now. Ooh. It's not right. Look how much wider it is than it should be. Let's refresh. I think it might have saved something that's bad. I'm not counting that logic out yet. Let's step through it real close here. Okay, so in the debugger we have the breakpoint. Move this far over to the right. So our left initially is 99. The width is 2100. That's about right. Continue. What is this? It's the first thing we need to check. It's way off. Okay, so I'm going to refresh. I think that's our other loop that's broken. But I know that was working previously. So maybe I should just undo to where it started today. Just to get the initial version of this alignment loop. We'll see all the changes we made. That's an important thing to keep in your mind is you have the full revision history. Just make sure you redo everything without typing something. Okay. So the before and after, it's the same. All right, so this time I'm going to put a breakpoint on this first loop. See what it's doing. Okay. If index does not equal cur call index 8, how is it cur call index 8? That can't be right. UI.element.index gives us 8. Should be like 0. I think that's the problem. So, yeah, we basically are focusing on the next column since that needs to change compared to what we just edited. But this current column index is totally wrong. It should be, in this case, 0. So let's find a better way to do this. Let's see, UI.element, what is that? Not showing my screen, sorry. So the question is UI.element within the parent. So how can we do this? So if we go to the parent of this thing, and then we could check out the children, and then we can, or the rather the children with the class column crop page zone. This would be something that, well, that didn't work. Find column crop page zone. What is going on here? Column crop page zone. Oh, that's, sorry. Resizable column is what I'm looking for. So there's 2 of them. Now, how can I see which one we just changed? Or how can I see which is the index of the one that I just edited? Let's just ask ChatGPT. This might be a good, maybe it can redeem itself. I have this element. It's one of these elements. How can I get the index of which of the group it is? Let's see. let elements equals this dot, okay. Array dot from elements. Does that work? -1, no. Gives me -1. The answer is 0. Okay, what about this? Index is 0. What if we tried this at 1? It works. Okay. So instead of calculating it like this, we'll use a real way to do it. So ChatGPT is redeeming itself a little bit here. So that is really, we want to call it current column index. So let's see if that helps at all. Can't hurt. Make sure we have a breakpoint. Okay, fair. Take 82. Click the wrong button. That's all right. I'm not showing my screen. So if we move this way over, hits the breakpoint, if index 1, okay, so the current next column width is 88. This column new width, what is our original next column width? This width. This column new width is equal to original next column width plus now it's going to go back. Okay, shoot. Now it's going back to percentages. It should still be fine. That's where the percentages were supposed to be set. So let's see if this actually works here. It looks like it got it right. Now we actually have the right size columns. Getting close, getting close. So the question is, did they get left and width right? 111 and 2064. Go to the next. Nice, I think it got it. We'll have to see if it actually got it, but should save behind the scenes here. And if we refresh, actually, I don't know if we put that line in the right spot. That's something else we have to check here. A couple of issues here I'm seeing. It looks like it's too big of a width. Minor over, it's going too far to the right beyond the size of the page. But besides that, if we go to the, what is it, project settings at book name, column cropping rules, the first one. First thing is I want to see if the columns came in right. So you can see the widths are drastically different, but that's not being reflected in the resizable stuff. Or actually, not even the resizable stuff. That would be here. Here. So column width percent is basic. So it's just hard coding this to be exactly dividing it into equal parts here. And that shouldn't be the case. So what I really want to start by doing is getting the total width, total calls width, and then we can just add on rule def dot what is it, call? Oh, here it is, calls LTWHs at I dot width. So then we have this total, and what we can do, I'm going to comment this out in case we need to revert. But the column width percentage is going to not be 100 divided by, but it's going to be something divided by the total column width times 100. What's the first part? Rule to use at, okay, this bit. And then the column left percent, I actually don't want it to be a percent. I want it to be in pixels. Also, actually, I think we need to put it in percent. This is the tricky part. So percentage of the total column, or the total image width. The total image width is parent L to overlay. I need to put a breakpoint. See the debugger. Okay, so it's parent overlay controls find image dot attribute w parse int. Okay, that gives us the actual image width. It's actually a good variable name. Actual image width. And to get the left, we just need to divide the rule to use dot left divided by the actual image width times 100.0. Is it that easy? Let's step over and see how it does. So the column width percent 50. That's not right, is it? Actually, it might be using some of the other rules. What's the rule? Okay, that's the wrong rule. This is the rule. So the call width 89.77 could be right. Column left 4.84, that could be right. Let's execute the rest of this. So you can see it's much more on the right side, about where we put it. The issue now is that, oh look, it's about equal to 100%. Oh, I'm not showing my screen, sorry. So if I move this way over to the left and if I refresh, now it's way over on the left. But one issue that I see here, let's try to make it really skinny and put it way over on the right. I have a feeling it's going to go to the full width of this thing when I refresh. Yeah, okay, so we're almost there. I wish ChatGPT could have been more of a help here. Also, I'm seeing this other bug of all these. Oh, I might have deleted that rule. I'm guessing that's what happened. Okay, almost there. So how is it getting to 100% of the width? That would be an issue probably with, let's see. This is probably the time to use the debugger. Yeah, so let's just change this. The left is 429. The width is 377. Left increment plus width. Okay, so the width is equal to full width times the percentage of the zone width. That's the issue. What we want is the full width. What we want is the zone width accounting for the X scale. What is it? Scale X? So zone width times scale X gives us 1400. That's what we need to do. So in the place of the full width, we just care about the zone width. Okay, I think that's going to do it. All right, so if we go not the full way across, but, and we'll put it right up against this left side of this box here. See how close we get? Okay, so a little bit better, but still it's not on the left side of that box. Let's go to the right side of the box, and instead of refreshing this page, I'm going to go to a new tab and refresh. Okay, that's how we got up on the right side of the box. I mean, it's pretty close. There's like a couple extra pixels there, but that's a much smaller bug than what we were just dealing with previously. Also, where'd this extra... So you can see there's still a little, there's still a bunch of bugs, but it's a very complex page. Not sure what's going wrong there, but let's change books up, and let's go to do this one. Looks like a Latin dictionary. Might have been the wrong choice. There's a bunch of pages, it seems. Or there's a bug. I think it's just chugging along and thinking. But I was hoping to do some more improvements to this process. You can see there are lots of bugs that we need to fix, that I need to fix, but I think it's got a lot of promise. To me, it's like one of the most exciting things I'm working on, and I've got a lot of things. Okay, let's refresh this. Is there? So it's thinking. I guess my computer might just be going slow. So okay, there it goes. So let's try this out. This one actually has 3 columns. And let's just try page 27 here. Ooh, it's going to get annoying. See how it's like jumping around a little bit? So I've got to figure out where all that jumpage is coming from. So it is a step in the right direction because I needed to get the column controls working at this level. I also have this level. Oh, see, there's this new bug going on. That's annoying, really annoying. It's adding an empty start and end page. And I think that's because, okay, let's fix that and then we'll maybe call it a day here. So when I resize these columns, somehow it's saving off the wrong so I think it's this. So first of all, I'll refresh, make sure I cleaned it up properly. Also, if I change modify, instead of new rule for page and just do modify, and I change this way over here, and I refresh, does it have that bug? It does have a bug. So I was hoping it would just be for new pages, new rule for page. But let's search for this. Do a refresh. Or actually, I can just change one of these. So how is it getting the wrong? Looks proper. Rule number. And then save the project settings. So if I hit play here, and I look at what's saved in the request tab, and it's JSON, so I can copy and paste this over here and just do like something like var a equals this, a, hit enter. We want to look for any sign of something being wrong. Okay, sees rule 0. Oh, okay. It's not following the right format. Rule def and rule num is wrong. Okay, that's easy. That's the issue. I'm amazed that that works at all. Although I'm trying to understand what's going on here. So rule def looks like this is the culprit. New rule equals, and then we say column rules dot unshift new rule. So it should be new rule equals this unshift new rule, and then down here the rule to use dot rule def dot call ltwh's. That one actually looks right. So if it's drag a new rule or and okay, that's right. So I think that's the main thing we just needed to fix. Let's clean this up and refresh. And that was what I meant to say, is this is also something I need to fix. Although I think this already works. These already work. You can see over here the left top width and height. So we're actually changing, we're modifying a bunch of different settings in one swoop whenever we make these changes. So so watch like the left and the widths for columns 2 and 3. We'll see if this changes it. Nope, actually doesn't. Actually, it did. I just don't think I dragged it very far. That seems to have changed. Yeah, that's changing the left and the width. So there's a lot of like complexity on this page. But we're moving in the right direction. So you can see it saved a little bit of what we did last time. Let's try to make this about equal distance. And we can refresh. Still getting that weird extra. Let's put a breakpoint. Right here. Right here. Hit refresh. And well, that time was a singular rule. That was a standalone rule. If we change this one, which is all over the place, so it's a not singular rule, although we are okay, so this should be better. New rule kind of looks like these other rules in here, which is good. Unshift is like append, but it puts it at the very beginning. So if I hit run here, and then I watch my network tab, what I send over to the server as my save, var a equals that, a, it looks more in line. It's a little annoying that some of these numbers are strings, but I'm pretty sure I account for that. And then if I refresh, okay, so no bug on that. What about on this one? This looks proper. Again, we'll check what we're sending over to the server. Ooh, that looks wrong here. Again, we're getting a rule. Oh, okay. So this r to use.ruleDef is wrong. So at least we isolated the issue. Let's just really walk through this again one more time and we'll fix this. ChatGPT screwed us over, man. Stabbed us in the back. It was not much of a help today. Too much recursion, it says. That's not good. Too much recursion. It was letting us delete it before. Always something. What if I just opened up my project settings for that book? Book settings? What's it called? Book import project settings for my Latin dictionary. The rule def. So which one do I want to lose here? Rule def. Rule num. There it is. Do it the old-fashioned way. Okay. And I really want to make sure we put a breakpoint here. I don't want that to do it again. Almost there. So, oh, it's actually hitting in this one, which works. We want it here. There we go. So, the problem was, I should have put the breakpoint earlier, but R to use. What is R to use? Let's just refresh this. I think what I want it to be is R to use dot rule def. I think it's just nested in there a little bit more. Yeah, I feel better about that. Okay, let's just fire this off. Hope for the best. Refresh, no whammy. Okay, so we fixed that. Oh, this is kind of weird. Rule 3. Page 3 to 3. Deleted them all. That was weird. Not showing my screen. So definitely a lot of weirdness still going on here. Not even sure what just happened there, but let's add a new rule. Zero to 10,000. Still a ways to go on this page here. It's frustrating. But that is it for today. Although, why do these only have 2? There's a lot of weirdness going on here, as you can see. I said 3 columns. There the 3 columns are. Although the columns are now all over the place in terms of width, which I kind of want to solve. I want to solve all this. So some of them that's ugly. It's wrong. But we're going to leave it there for now. You can see the process by which we continually add features. It's one reason why it's important to keep things consistent and well organized as you write. And I didn't do a great job on this page, although there is a lot of like user interface stuff that I was experimenting with. It's hard because there's not a lot of off-the-shelf stuff for what we're trying to do here. So I had to build it all from scratch, the whole mechanism for the page rules and how we do the columns and such. And it's doubling stuff up and being a pain. I think probably something with this logic down here that I just added, obviously. But it's something a bridge I had to cross eventually. 0 to 10,000, so it doubled this rule up. All right, I'm just going to leave it there. I know people are probably sick of hearing me talk about this. I'm going to try to get some better examples lined up for the next shows on this. And really what I'm trying to do is build the approach and convey what I'm learning along the way, the tools that I have that I don't want to keep to myself. The debugger is a big one, huge help. How to use ChatGPT, boiling down the problem into its smallest unit part that you can pass along and get it solved, hopefully. Even that can sometimes be a bit much to ask for ChatGPT. It depends on what we ask. We kind of, if it's up your alley, it's up mine, so I'm covering this. I'm kind of obsessed by it. But figuring out what it's capable of, what it excels at, what it's not good at, and keeping an eye on as it progresses, which I expect it to. So thank you all for tuning in. I wish it could have been a more riveting show, but sometimes, the weirdest things give us the troubles, and we have to go through the process of debugging. And the best programmers that you'll find will tell you that a lot of times debugging is where the time is spent. It's one of the most important things to learn if you're trying to pick up the craft. And if you don't know how to debug, it's a million times more frustrating. Because you're just kind of shooting in the dark and it's almost impossible. So use those breakpoints, use the console, the inspector, the debugger, and the network tabs on your dev tools. So I wish you luck. I wish myself luck. I'm going to need it to get this to the finish line because there is a lot left to do. The project I'm doing here is my transcribe project as part of the overarching Discover Grid project that I'm building. And I really want to be able to extract these, the page info from all these books. That's another thing you can check out. Annas-archive.org is a great resource for downloading these book PDFs. I also have some pages I'm working on for if I have a video, if you have video or audio, and extracting the text from speech to text. And yeah, so I think going into the future, I'll leave you with this. I think going into the future, data is the most important thing. And having curated data sets, being able to extract data from the wealth of knowledge that we have in book format, PDF format, is going to be huge. And I do think that in the future, also, we're going to want to have these trained models, like BERT models, for example. And so check out my Substack, timtruth.com. Have some polished code ready to go for training BERT models and training neural networks for regression tasks, that is predicting numbers, and way more to come. So if you appreciate these videos sharing what I found and the progress reports, if you could support on Substack and me in the world, I really appreciate you. timtruth.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.